Hi everyone, Master Liciaga here. Hope you guys are doing great today. It's Monday and I cannot wait to share what my thoughts are on what's going on in the martial arts today in 2020. So martial arts in 2020 and beyond going forward. I'm excited just to share my thoughts on that. Of course, some of you might know, especially our students know that I started a while ago. I'll be 59 years old, and I started martial arts when I was 9 years old. So we're talking about a long time ago, half a century ago is when I first started my journey in martial arts. And we're talking about the 70s. That's a long time ago. And I can't believe, well, it's just amazing that I'm here now and been teaching full-time at Dinoto Karate Center. If you want to find out more about Dinoto Karate, go to dinotokarate.com. But I want to talk about martial arts in 2020 and beyond, what it was like in the 70s when I started and through the decades to where we are today. And it's so exciting. And it's exciting for everyone, not just for me, as someone who's a martial artist and been doing it for a while, but also for parents out there, especially the parents out there. I know when I started back in 1970. Well, let me quickly tell you, I started, first it started off when my friend knocked on my door and invited me to do a karate class at the community center. Now, I grew up in New York City in the Bronx, and I live in the projects. And in the projects that I lived in, there was a community center in the middle of the projects. And it was pretty cool. It was a nice community center, and they were doing karate classes there. There was a guy who was a brown belt, and he was under a teacher named Grandmaster Tiger Kim at the time. And anyway, worked it out where he was doing karate there. And my friend knocked on the door and said, "Hey, Peter, would you like to do karate?" And I says, "Well, what's that?" He says, "I don't know, but it's free." I said, "Okay, cool. I'm there. It's at the community center." So we went, and it was my first experience was brutal. I think my friend and I, we were both the youngest there. I was 9 years old, and there were teenagers there and some men there. And I just felt like a punching bag, and they just beat the heck out of us, and they trained us hard. And it was just very, very painful. It was brutal, but I loved it. I really liked it a lot. I grew up in the streets, and I grew up in a lot of fighting, a very violent environment. And I needed that. I needed that kind of outlet where I was taught how to protect myself. I was taught to withstand the punishment. And so I enjoyed it. I loved it. And my friend, he liked it okay. He did it for a while. He ended up quitting. I ended up staying. And I continued in martial arts since then and went through a lot of instructors. But I'll tell you, there was not many students. When somebody would come on in, they would leave because it was just that brutal. And back then, when I reflect back now, at the time, it was martial arts was designed basically for what we call the 1 to 3 percenters. The 1 to 3%. These are the people that typically are type A aggressive people. And you could hit them over the head with a bat and they would come back and they'd love it. Most people don't want that. Nobody wants the pain. And so the martial arts environment, at least, and this is my experience. I know some of you guys had different experiences than I did, but this was my experience. I can only share my experience. When I would go to the schools back then, especially in New York City, it was type A aggressives, and it was not an environment for people that were shy, or even though I was shy, but there was a violence in me that I had a lot of anger in me, and so it worked for me. But it could not serve many people in the community, and so back then the teaching methods were extremely crude and very violent with very little patience. So you have someone who's very violent, who knows how to hurt you, who you cannot hurt because they've been through the process and they've been beaten through the training where they're so comfortable with being in pain that you can't hurt them, and then they had very little patience. So you just kept your mouth quiet. You didn't say anything, and you just did what you were told. There was no questioning of the master, no questioning of the teacher. And back to my, again, I'm emphasizing my experience. It was very closed-minded at the time. And I'm sharing this only because it gives us a perspective of the martial arts that we're doing today. And back then, when I started, yeah, it was just very, very different. The discipline equaled pain. If you were to ask me back then, what does discipline mean to you? I would just simply say pain. Do what you're told, or else there was a lot of pain. And that's not what we teach today. So I remember when the Karate Kid came out. Karate Kid came out, with Ralph Macchio and Daniel San and all that. It was a pretty awesome movie because it really painted a different picture of martial arts. And it really, and this is what I tell our students when they first come on in, why our school is the way it is, why it's designed the way it is, why it's an open environment. Because when I came up in martial arts, it was a very closed-minded environment. We could not share our martial arts with anyone else, and it's a big reason why Bruce Lee got a lot of slack. I mean, he was really hated by the Chinese culture because they did not want him sharing the martial arts secrets to Caucasians, to the Americans, and to Westerners. And so that was an issue back then, the closed-minded. So we were taught never to share the knowledge. But when you come to our school, we talk about how our martial arts is open. You watch now, and I share videos of any questions you have about martial arts, I will answer for you. Any techniques you would like to hear about and see, I will show. If I can show it to you, and I will explain it to you. There are no secrets in martial arts. And so we've opened everything up. We tore down the curtain. And so today, martial arts in 2020 is very different than it was when I started back in the 70s. And I love it because the teachers now, the teaching methods that we have now are methods that we take from the education field. Teachers, educators, what they are being taught to meet the needs of the student. That's what we're learning. We're learning and implementing those strategies, those tactics, and those skill sets, because it's very important. Back then, when I started, someone who had ADD or ADHD, unless they were very violent or anything like that, could not survive. It's someone who had these special needs most likely would not survive the environment. Now, there are exceptions. I know they are, but I know my experience. If somebody came into where I trained, you basically had to be extremely tough, and you had to really go through. It was almost like a hazing process. And it's funny because when I went to Germany, it was the same thing. I went to Germany, and I was this performing artist, and my instructors shared this with me later on after I trained with them for a couple of years. They said, Peter, when you came in, we just wanted to get rid of you. Who's this, actor who's in this incredible show in Europe, this prima donna going to come into ours, wants to train with us, but we're going to train him hard and beat him up, and so that he quits. But I didn't. They didn't realize that I came up through a tough background, and so I stayed. But that was that mindset. These days, our doors are open to everyone, and we meet the needs of the family, the moms, the dads that have children as young as 3.5 years old. And I remember a conversation I had with Master Dinoto several years ago. He says, well, look, martial arts serves the 1 to 3% of people that would want to do martial arts. They could take the punishment and everything like that, but yet we're missing out on the 99 to 97%. So what do we need to do to serve them? The 99 to 97, the 97 to 99%. What do we need to do? Well, we need to make sure that we make the environment a lot more welcoming to that population. And so we had to change the color. We had to get rid of this hardcore, beat them down and beat them into submission kind of mindset. We had to get rid of this mindset of being impatient and not tolerating questions. We had to open up our minds and be friendly and learn how to have compassion and empathy, and to learn that everyone learns differently. We have to learn that some people have ADD, ADHD, and that that's not a psychological or mental or cognitive challenge, but it's a neurological challenge. People have Tourette's, Asperger's, people are on the spectrum. We had to learn all these things, and we had to learn how to teach those students so that they can thrive, that they can set goals and thrive in our environment, so that when they go out into the real world, they have been equipped as best as possible to confront the challenges of a real world that will more often than not care about their challenges. It will come at them fast, ferociously, and furiously. We need to equip them to be warriors, not so much like this necessarily, but with the mind of a warrior that would stand up, and the heart of a warrior that would stand up against the challenges. And so martial arts in 2020 is so different. And I love where we are right now. We're serving families now. And of course, yes, we'll have the 1 to 3%ers that would come into our school. Now at Dinoto Karate Center, I typically tell people that there's 3 kinds of schools. And there's a ground and pound school where it's grappling, throwing on the ground and pounding them. There's tournament schools. And then there's those family martial arts schools. We are a family martial arts school. We are not a ground and pound school. We are not a tournament school. We are for the family, for the parents. My children were raised up in it. I have a 19-year-old student to be 20. I have a 16-year-old student to be 17. My wife participated in it. She got her black belt. We have people of all ages and all sizes, all challenges that are training in our program. And we tell them, you do your best. You do your best, forget everything else. And my job as the instructor is to see their best and help them get a little bit better. And I'm not asking them to be me or anyone else. I'm asking them to be them, to be who they are and be their best. And then we work together, they and us, the instructors, Team Dinoto, the parents, the community, work together to help them to get better and better, to be empowered so that they can go out into the world and be the best that they can be. And I love that. I love that. And no one's excluded. Everyone's included. And when you come to our academy, and I hope you do, you'll see the culture we have, that everyone's included. You'll see students out there doing incredible. They're gifted. They have these high kicks. They have these incredible power, this incredible technique that they were just born with. Then you have students that are struggling just to get their kicks up, struggling to get the forms because you just can't get it, struggling just to hold on because they have a challenge that's unique to them. But they're all on the mats, training, doing their best so that they could be equipped to be raised up in the way, as I say, where they should go, so that when they are older, they have the tools and the skill sets to confront and overcome the challenges that's unique to them. So I want to spend this week really talking about, reflecting on martial arts in the past, but more importantly, talk about martial arts in 2020 and beyond. And so I created a website, guys. If you have some questions, there's a couple of questions. If you want to find out about our martial arts program, there's a website that I created that just takes you through very simple questions. See if our program is right for you. And just go to martialarts2020.com. It's right there, martialarts2020.com. Go there and you just go through a series of questions. It's not a fancy website, please. It's not a fancy website, just a quick video of me and trying to make some sense of what you're about to do there. And then it's just nothing but questions. But by the end of it, you'll see whether we're the right program for you. And I hope that we get together, you come by and visit our school. And of course, you can comment, you can send me a message. You can definitely call the school at 856-235-0414, or you can go to martialarts2020.com and just fill out a couple of questions to find out whether our program is right for you. So thank you so much for hanging with me. Look forward to talking to you this week. If you're a student, see you on the mats. If you're not a student, hope that you come by and visit us. Take care. Have a great day.